Good evening and welcome to this Fox News special, Saddam Hussein on trial. I'm Dan Senor. As a senior advisor to the Coalition Provisional Authority, I was in Iraq when Saddam Hussein was captured. And I was there when the U.S. and the new Iraqi government laid out the plan to bring this tyrant to justice. Saddam Hussein, as you will see, will actually be tried in a series of cases. The first is scheduled to start in October. I recently went back to Iraq, only this time with a Fox News investigative team. We had unprecedented, exclusive access to many people and places that will be at the center of this historic event. What we encountered is a country still in the shadow of Saddam. We traveled under heavy security, but the threat we faced was small compared to the dangers faced by Iraqis working to bring Saddam to justice. They spoke to us at great risk. Some have already seen family and friends murdered by terrorists, hoping to stop Saddam from being tried for his crimes. First, you'll meet the Iraqis who are risking their lives and that of their families to bring Saddam to trial.
Why do you keep putting yourself in these difficult situations?
Their courageous fight to condemn one of the world's worst tyrants coming up next. Even after Saddam Hussein was pulled from his spider hole and thrown in prison, investigating his crimes is a dangerous calling. Terrorists are stopping at nothing to derail the trial, including murder. Jafar Abdul-Jabbar is the lead prosecutor at the Iraqi Special Tribunal. He is appearing on camera, shedding his anonymity and the measure of personal security that goes with it for the first time.
My brother, who was also my personal driver, was killed 6 months ago.
Terrorists reached your family, and yet you're still coming on camera.
After I was told about this, I went home, had a talk with myself, and reached a conclusion. I have to do this for the sake of justice, for the sake of a fair trial.
Chief Investigative Judge Rod Juhi already knows what it's like to have the eyes of the nation on him. Last July, many Americans were transfixed by these pictures of Saddam Hussein, a dictator who for 30 years survived assassination attempts, uprisings, and the Gulf War, being hauled into court. A bigger shock to many Iraqis was that Judge Juhi allowed himself to be seen on camera. For Iraqis knew that by appearing on television, Juhi put a bullseye on his forehead and also on his family, friends, and colleagues.
We want to show the world Iraq does have a solid legal system, and it's independent.
As you will see, the Iraqi system also differs from the U.S. legal system in many respects. For starters, in Iraq, judges like Juhi, working with prosecutors like Abdul-Jabbar, investigate the crimes and build the cases, then turn their work over to other judges who try the case. Juhi lives and works under constant guard in Baghdad's protected green zone. We met up with him there in his new offices, still under construction.
Why do you keep putting yourself in these difficult situations?
It is not the issue whether I continue to work on a difficult or dangerous trial. This is my duty. We want to show the rule of law, is not the rule of revenge.
Juhi and Abdul-Jabbar have spent almost 2 years preparing the first cases set to go before the tribunal. They've called through 30 years of government documents, some recovered from Saddam's own intelligence office. Mass graves have been exhumed and witnesses located and interviewed, all while terrorist assassins and bombers do what they can to drive the country into chaos.
How many witnesses have you interviewed since you began this process?
Some days I see 8 to 9 witnesses, and that is more than an hour per person. And it's not just witnesses. I've gone through thousands of documents.
This trial will expose many crimes that the people of Iraq never knew about.
Are you saying there are new crimes, new atrocities?
Oh yes, there are many other cases.
Investigators say Saddam could be tried for over 300 crimes. But for now at least, they focused on about a dozen. They include crimes of aggression, like the invasion of Kuwait, which resulted in the 1991 Gulf War, and subsequent violent suppression of mass uprisings in the north and the south. Crimes against humanity, like the destruction of the southern marshlands and the forced deportation of thousands of Faili Kurds to Iran. But the biggest and most notorious is the genocidal chemical weapons attack on the Iraqi Kurds in 1988. Over 5,000 people were killed and thousands more were injured, making it the largest chemical weapons attack ever against a civilian population. Saddam's campaign was intricately planned, meticulously documented, and even given a code name. Called Anfal, meaning spoils of war, Saddam targeted Kurds with mass deportations and mass murder. The scale of these crimes is one thing, but proving Saddam's guilt in a court of law is another. So despite impressive, courageous, and driven jurists like Juhi and Abdul Jabbar, it's easy to doubt a legal system atrophied for decades under Saddam's rule can handle a massive prosecution like this.
But what I'm confident about is that these judges were adequately selected and vetted, that they've been adequately trained. But once the trial starts, anything can happen.
Michael Sharf has personally trained Juhi, Abdul Jabbar, and others on the Iraqi Special Tribunal who we won't show to protect their identities. Sharf, a law professor at Cleveland's Case Western Reserve University, was recently nominated for the Nobel Prize for his work to bring war criminals to justice in Sierra Leone, the former Yugoslavia, and Rwanda. Those trials took place under the banner of the United Nations. For reasons we'll explain later, the trial of Saddam will not. But that doesn't worry Sharf. He says the Iraqi tribunal meets international legal standards.
The way they've achieved that is by having a statute that's based on the Yugoslavia and Rwanda tribunal statutes, these international statutes that fulfill all the requirements of international law.
One thing Sharf did fear is that the Americans might be pulling all the strings.
I thought that this was basically a kangaroo court controlled by the United States. The more I learned about it, the more I learned that it was actually a very valid and effective tribunal.
Some U.S. advisors are concerned that failing to start with a genocide case is a mistake. But Sharf disagrees.
I actually think it's brilliant.
Sharf says Dujil is the clearest, most manageable of all the possible cases the prosecution could bring. And he says they'll have plenty of evidence to prove one toughest element of the crime alleged, that Saddam was indeed calling the shots.
He was a leader with infinite close control. The insiders who participated in Dajjal and are likely to testify are all going to make this a very strong case.
In fact, those insiders will actually stand trial alongside Saddam. They are Saddam's half-brother, Barzan Ibrahim al-Takriti, former Vice President Taha Yassin Ramadan, Awad Hamad al-Bandar, head of the Revolutionary Court, and two local Ba'ath Party officials, Kadam al-Musheki and his son, Mizher.
I can tell you these defendants have cooperated and have admitted to getting written documents or verbal orders from the Ba'ath regime to commit these crimes.
There's one more advantage to bringing this manageable, clear-cut case first, Sharf says. One that will force prosecutors to focus on and dispose of for good any broad attacks by Saddam on the legitimacy of the tribunal, its judges, or its evidence. Above me is a verse from the Quran that reads, "If you must judge, judge wisely." It is fitting that these words overlook this courtroom, where all final decisions about Saddam Hussein will be made. Under Iraqi civil law, investigative judges, not prosecutors, collect evidence and determine if there's enough to bring charges. As we told you earlier, that probe was the job of this man, Judge Rod Juhi, who defied danger by investigating Saddam's crimes at Dujil. That slaughter of a town will be the first case to be tried by the Iraqi Special Tribunal. By the time the proceedings reach this chamber, Judge Rod's work will be done. And the fate of Saddam Hussein will be in the hands of a 5-judge panel.
ICTY, ICTR, because it's domestic court, it's not international court. Today, because our guest is a little bit different, and frankly, because it's the legal materials is tough, and we call this present material, we try to use slight change in this court to bring the life to this event. I will start with the history of the Iraqi society, and then I will address some points so you can understand what's going on in Iraq exactly. Iraq, during the history, it is a monarchy. You know, if you go 60, 70 years ago, it's monarchy, which is it's controlled by the king and his family. 1958, the first military code came, and the military code changed the regime from monarchy to republican. So we have, you know, Republic of Iraq. This is not the point. The point is July 14, 1958. That's the day of the military code. When the military exists, and control the country, they went to the palace, where is the king and his family and some relative there, and they execute them with minutes. When I say with minutes, no trial, no arresting, no right of accused, nothing. They kill them and they bury them. So that's the first change at that time. 5 years later, which is 1963, it's the second military code. This is the second military code. This is the first Ba'athist code. Same thing happened. When the military controlled the country, they arrested the prime minister and they execute him maybe within an hour, which is no trial again. Not just that. I said this is many times in different events. Not just that. 1958, they bury the king and his family. So the king has a grave. But 1963, the prime minister did not have a grave. Because after they execute him, they throw his body to the river. We have 2 rivers in Iraq and one in Baghdad. So they threw the body in the river. So there is no grave to the first prime minister and Republic of Iraq, not in monarchy. This, another point. Third, it's 1979, when Saddam became president in Iraq. Saddam, it was as a deputy vice president 1969, but he became president 1979. First day he became president, he arrested some people, and these people, leader of the Ba'ath Party at that time, they have different opinion than him, and they disappear. No one knows about it. From 1981 until 1988, which is 1 year later, when Saddam took position as a president, 1 year later, 2 years later exactly, we involved in war with Iran for 8 years. During this war, there is 2 things happened. One, even the war we have it, Saddam's regime, Ba'ath regime, start to arrest it. Each single person has a different opinion, different political opinion exactly against the Ba'ath Party or than the Ba'ath Party. And these people also disappear. I use word disappear because no one knows about them until this minute. There is no document of the execution. There is no document about what are these people. That's one. Second is 1987, 1988. 1987, 1988 is another step in the Iraqi history. The Iraqi regime, the central government, start to attack. Let me put this in the beginning. I don't know if you are familiar with the Iraqi society or not. Iraqi society is a little bit mixed. You know, not like it is other society. We have 2 ethnicities. We have Arab and Kurd, and we have different religions. We have a Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and under these also there is sub-schools. If we are talking about the Muslims, there is Sunni and Shia. Talking about the Sunni, there is 4 schools. About Shia, there is 2 schools also. So the Kurdish people of Iraq, they speak Kurdish language and they live in north region of Iraq. So they live there. 1987, Saddam regime start to attack Kurdish people. because the regime said they associate with Iran during Iraqi and Iranian war, which is not true. I will tell you later why it's not true. During this campaign, Saddam destroyed 4,000 villages north region of Iraq, and the regime arrested almost 180,000 individuals. Excuse me, just put the number in your mind. 180,000 individuals. Children, female, male, old, young, old. They put them in the concentration camps. Then they shipped them to desert when they executed and died and buried them. 180,000. When we asked Saddam about why he did that, he said they associate with Iran during the Iranian war. This defense is failed for two reasons. One, the Iran and Iraqi war stopped August 1988. And the operation against the Kurdish started from February 1988 until September 1988, which means 1 month later of the Iraqi and Iranian war. So it's clear the attack is against the Kurdish population. That's one. The second reason, we had video. This video, Saddam's cousin, his deputy, who's the guy is responsible for all the this North region crimes. In this video, he said, "I will gather all of them and send them to die in desert. No one will survive." Then we get a document. I will show you some documents also. This slide later. We get a document. This document said, "Kill everybody." This document for the Kurdish region. Kill everybody arrested in this area from 15 years old until 70 years old after the investigation. So get him, investigate him, get the information, then kill him. No need for a fight. This is the point also. Let's move a little bit in this history until we reach the 2003. After 1988, 2 years later, we stopped the war between Iraq and Iran. 2 years later, we involved in Kuwaiti war, which is you call the first Gulf War here. This is point, I think it's very important for both Iraq society and US society. Why it's important for Iraqi society and US society? It's important for Iraqi society because it's the second attack, the biggest attack in Iraq when the regimes attacked the Shia in south of Iraq. And I will tell you what's happened there. Why it's important for US? Because US is part of the international community when they came to the Gulf to restore Kuwaiti's territory. And when they pushed the Iraqi army out of Kuwait, they did not continue in their mission. 1991, everybody knows about that maybe, and some of you maybe is young. I just remind this is the first Gulf War. Iraq invade Kuwait, then the international community passed a resolution to restore Kuwait, and the United States lead the coalition forces there. February 1990, the coalition forces, February and March, push the Iraqi army out of Kuwait. Then the President Bush said, this is our duty to restore Kuwait, but he said this is to Iraq. This is now your opportunity to get freedom in Iraq. Because the regime is so weak in that time. 14 cities, 14 provinces in Iraq had uprising against the regime. Most of the Shi'is south of Iraq and the north region also. The regime almost out of power. Almost. Because of the international rule, the regime cannot use the forces. It cannot use the air force, the helicopters, the tanks against the civilian. And the civilians start to continue and control the cities one by one, until almost they reach Baghdad. If they reach the capital, so that's it. Because the Kurd came from north and Shia came from south, so the regime is just almost isolated in some places. No one knows what happened. In one night, the regime started to use the tanks, helicopter, air force. If you use the air force or helicopters or tanks against a civilian who use just the machine gun or knives or nothing very important, there is no comparison. 100% you will kill everybody. If you have fires from air to kill people in the street, that's it. So the regime started to control city by city until they control most of the country except the north region, because the north region has protection under the international community. The UN and the US protect the north region, 3 provinces, which is called the safe area. But most of the south is out of the protection. So most of the south is available for the regime to arrest and prosecute. The regime then destroyed most of the cities by tanks and heavy weapons and arrested almost 300,000 civilians. 350. This is 300,000 arrested and disappeared in mass graves after 1991. So let's look at the rule of law from 1958 until 1991. Just summarize this. 30 minutes to kill the king. 1 hour to kill the prime minister. During the systematic process, thousands of politicians and writers and people who's involved in human rights disappeared. 1988, civilian North region disappeared, and not disappeared, they executed. Because we find them in the mass graves. We find them in the mass graves and later. And 1991, 300,000 disappeared. The turning point came 2008. When the regime is changed and Saddam is arrested, there is a huge debate. How we deal with this? This is the biggest question. There is reaction. People has reaction. Some families, they miss their entire family. Some families' entire family disappear. Not family at all. So they said execute. They said different reaction. But we think if we did anything mistake, like what's happened in the past, we did not get the lesson, and we did not educate our society. For that reason, I said 2003 is turning point. Because it's part of education, not part of the prosecution on rule of law. This is this full package. You cannot miss one. If you miss one, you miss the goal. You have to have rule of law, you have to have prosecution, you have to have fair trial, you have to have right of the accused and right of victims, and you have to have education for your society. You have to change the society view, about the rule of law. Its rule of law means killed who killed before? No. Its rule of law means how to prosecute fairly and respect the other's rights. For that reason, we decided to have a court. And this court, real court, not as a fake court. The first question we face, can we get the international community involved in this or not? Frankly, because of the politician and the politics influence, we found we cannot pass any resolution from the Security Council to set up international attack, to set up international tribunal, like ICTY, Yugoslavia. Sorry, we use sometimes this term, but I will mention the name exactly, or Sierra Leone, because it's the Security Council did not involve in the Iraqi war, the second Gulf War, so it's not possible to pass any resolution from there. And we understood that some members will use vetoes against this tribunal. How to build justice if you don't have international support? You have a limitation. If you don't have international, you have to come domestic. So we decide to have local court. Reach the international standard. Okay, the international community did not come to us, let's go to them. How to go to them? This way. Build the court on the international standard, adopted the statute and the rule of evidence for the Yugoslavia war crime, Rwanda, court tribunal, and use it in Iraq. Then hire some international expert to help Iraqi judges and defense counsels to help the accused and the victims. At least we can feel this is the first and the fair way to reach the justice in Iraq. We passed the statute of the Iraqi High Tribunal based on the Yugoslavia, and this is International Criminal Court and Sierra Leone. And same thing with the rule of evidence. And we start gathering the evidence. The first thing we work over documents. We have 21 tons of documents work over. Because it's 35 years, as you saw in the movie. So with the international standard, we have and we need at that time to find real evidence through these documents. To confess the people and international community. That's one. Second, to find the real, and good evidence in the court. We built security and electronic data through this because there is no ability for anyone can work over this by hand. And then we have a huge team working in this, including my staff, which is around 600 individuals working over this also, plus the 1,000 individual expert in electronic data. After documents, there is physical evidence. It's massive graves. I said 180,000, 300,000, and we have a data over all the massive graves in Iraq. And we survey this, then we hire an individual, and we have to build facilities near to the massive graves area and work on it. We have to work step by step. Step by step. How to do that? We don't have any ability. You know, we start. Just look at this. You know, we build this city in the desert. We offer all the facilities, electronic and food and water, blah blah. Just imagine that you build something in Nevada. You know, you have to have security, electronic facilities, electricity, water, food, you know, communication, transportation, and you know, let people work fairly there. And we open the graves step by step until we reach. You know, so we go over each single details. You know, I took one picture, the details of one picture. So we start from here. Look at this. This is the grave, and we pick, for example, one skeleton. We go over details. This is his watch. This is gave us another details. You know, because day, when the day stopped, and which day he died, and maybe it's recognized by someone else. You know? Then we go over where is his shot, here or there. You know, then we focus on it. Look, this is here. This is something on his eyes, and we go over this detail. Then we took it to the lab. We shipped this skeleton, not one. We shipped hundreds. You know, and we go over there. We work over exactly until we reach this again. How many shots in the body, and where's the shot, and the age of the more details. I don't like to. It's bother you in this. Just to let you know, it's longer process, very long process. This is the facility and work. This is the second step of the day. Then the third step, the witnesses. Witnesses is the tough. This is tough things because you have to listen to very sad stories. Thousands of people. We interview 6 to 7 every day. Each one of us interview, and we interview around fairly, I can say, almost 10,000 persons. It's not me. I don't have the ability to that. Not me and my team. All of them is working. 24 investigative judge, 60 legal assistant, and 100 investigators. So we're working over all this. Then, after we listen to the witnesses, documents, physical evidence, we move to the second step, where is the defendants. When we interview defendants, we have to put in our minds two things. One, the international standard for the human rights. Second, the rights of victims and defendants. Maybe some of you are not interested in the legal area, but at least it's kind of education also. It's we have to address the defendants about his right to remain silent, defense counsel, and he has a right to defend himself, whatever, a long list. This court, little bit different than Yugoslavia. Why? Yugoslavia, if someone follow the Milosevic case, and Saddam's case, Yugoslavia decided the defendant has one thing, have to pick between defense himself or let the defense counsel defended him on behalf of the defendants. We think that's not fair enough. Why? Lawyers, maybe they focus on the legal term and legal, defenses. But the accused himself or herself has a story to tell. Like the witness, like the victim. All of them has stories. And it's the fair way to do, it's to let them, exchange the idea in front of the court. Maybe the witness is lying. I don't know. I did not see the witness when the crimes happened, and I did not see the accused when he did the crime. So we decide to go on both rights. So the defendant or the accused has a right to defend himself, ask a question, speech in the court. Then the defense counsel for the accused has a right to advise his accused or his client and defend him legally later. So address the legal points in this issue. We think this little bit better and fit under at least international human rights principles, because both the victim, witness, and the accused is a human being and has a right to defend themselves. That's one. Also, we think this little bit different than Nuremberg. Why it's different than Nuremberg? Nuremberg trial is set up by the United States, France, UK, and Russia. And the accused is German. So here is the biggest problem, the language. Sometimes, if we go to Boston, there is different dialect. If you go to Texas, there is different accent dialect. Same thing. Same thing in everywhere. In Iraq it's also same kind of thing. So the language is very important. Not just that. There is some local dialect. Thank you very much. There is some local dialects. There is some terms, maybe I cannot understand it if I'm not from this area or that area. If you talk about the south of Iraq, there is some terms different than the west of Iraq. So judges in Nuremberg, they use translation. And the accused use translations also. And translation, they use classic words. So the standard of the translation. Sometimes you are accurate, you are a teacher. So use your specific words when you try to teach your children or your kids in the school. But maybe I know one meaning of this word. I don't know the other meaning. Same thing for the translation. The interpreter maybe did not fit in this standard. Cannot catch all the words, especially when we talk about the witnesses, victims, and accused. If the accused has middle-class education, so he cannot talk in a classic language. In Iraqi High tribe, it's different. We all speak one language, which is the language of the court. It's Arabic language. So the accused, witness, victim, and the judges, prosecutor, clerk, all investigators, all speak same language. I will tell you a funny story just to change a little bit about this, about how the languages affect the investigation and affect the trial. Before Iraqi High tribe, I was working judge in Central Criminal Court of Iraq. In Central Criminal Court of Iraq, I was involved in terrorist cases and some other stuff. One case connected between Iraq and the US troop. So the CPA, or the coalition at that time, has a representative just to follow the process. Did not do anything in this case. Anyway, we listened to the victims, witnesses, all. Then we brought the accused. The accused speak Arabic language. And I speak Arabic language. The accused was very low class education. So I cannot talk with him classic Arabic because he did not understand. I have to talk to him in local dialect. which is little bit, he can't understand it or explain the idea of it. The first thing I have to tell him, he's right. He has a right to remain silent. He has a right to have a defense counsel, and blah, blah, blah. But I cannot say in Arabic 100% classic, so he will shout. He said, what's wrong here? I don't understand that. I spoke to him locally. The translator, he's not Iraqi. He's from Lebanon. He's Lebanese. And he's sitting next to the major in the US military. In that time, I did not speak English, but part of my education, I have some basic words. I started to tell the accused his right, and what the translator said to his boss, he said, the judge told to the accused, shut up. When I told him to remain silent, this is the word in Arabic. If someone knows Arabic, لك حق السكوت. This is Arabic code. لك حق السكوت. لك حق السكوت. This word has different meaning. One of it, don't speak. One of it, don't speak. But I put in the beginning حق, which means right. So you have to write to remain silent. He missed this, and he told, shut up. I stopped the investigation. I said, you, out. I said, what? Out. Go out. Out of my chamber, now. And I, asked the plaintiff to bring my translator. And then I finished the hearing, the first hearing, and the major said, Judge, excuse me for my question, maybe a silly question, but I want to understand why you kick my translator out of your chamber. I said, because he misunderstood the language, and he will, miss the idea, and I put the guy, he can't help you in this. He said, your person told you the first thing I said to the accused, shut up, and you shut. How the judge told to the accused, shut up, in the first session. What fair trial we have here? That I said to him in local dialect, you have a right to remain silent. But I did not tell him in a classic form. So that guy, he's speaking Lebanese language, Lebanese dialect, even Arabic, but he did not get the Arabic dialect or Iraqi dialect. So this one of the problem. I said this is a funny story, but in capital punishment, in capital crime, it's important when the judges has to reach the verdict. And if the judges did not speak the same language when the accused or the victim or the witness speak, may they will miss 1 point or 2 points. So this one of the difference also between Nuremberg and Iraq. There is a brother or sister, I don't know if it's to Nuremberg. It's called Tokyo trial. Tokyo took place in Tokyo, in Japan, and it's a prosecute. This is Japanese there. Tokyo is a disaster. Because all the judges don't speak Japanese. And one of them also didn't understand English. So I don't know how he reached his verdict. Yeah. So we get this lesson. We get this lesson from Nuremberg. We get this lesson from, it's ICTY, which is Yugoslavia. And we learn from them. We learn this some point we have to put in our consideration when we talk about the rule of law in Iraq and the new Iraq. This is kind of the bridge, because if we did not recognize this in Nuremberg or Yugoslavia, we cannot fix this point. So Nuremberg, it's very important for the international standard. If we're talking about the international justice. And the others, other ad hocs, other tribunals, just continue, fill the gap, and continue the rule. When we go over crime against humanity, war crimes, which is the capital crimes, and genocide. This is kind of the history now. Because Iraqi High Tribunal did not have jurisdiction over future crime. It has jurisdiction over past crime. So may one of you said, wait a minute, what kind of fair trial you have if you prosecute someone about crimes happened in the old time, on the, last time, and maybe there is no law, told this is legal or illegal actions. You are talking about the war crime, crime against humanity, and genocide, and other local, violence, and you prosecute the head of the state and his cabinet, and no one knows. And you said you bring the statute of ICTY, ICTR, and updated or admitted in Iraq. Tell us, how does this fit under the Iraqi law? Absolutely, this is a question, it's a legitimate question. We are talking about the international crimes, not domestic crimes. If there is no article in the penal code or criminal code said this X crime, this is X action, it's illegal, we are free to do it. So we did not violate any law. In international standards, little bit different. There is treaties and conventions in international area. One of these is genocide, 1948. Genocide Convention is 1948. By the way, it took 30 years to assign and referred by the U.S. here. Because the U.S. is, remember, it's 1978, I think. But it's around 8 years to sign by Iraq. Iraq signed this convention, this treaty, 1956, and became part of the Iraqi law. The Geneva Convention, the Fourth Geneva Convention, is passed 1949. It took 10 years in Iraq to appear and sign it. It's 1959, which is after 10 years. Then it became part of the Iraqi law. Crime against humanity, until this minute, we did not reach the treaty about the crime against humanity. But there is something called, international customary law. It's adopted by the UN and the Security Council. This started as a case law from Nuremberg. Then it became part of the, I usually use part of the international crime family, member of the international crime family, So no one can ignore it because it's open and everybody knows this kind of action, it's a crime under the international standard if you are attacked, social, ethnic, civilian people, something. So when Saddam's regime attacked the civilian north, civilian south, the clerk, the politician, he violated this treaty. Fourth Geneva Convention, genocide treaty, and violate the human rights, and also it is a crime against humanity as international standard. So we did not brought anything new for them. And Saddam has legitimate question. He said, how you prosecute me in this? And I'm the head of the state and I have immunity. It's very simple question. There is no immunity in international crimes. This is the standard of Nuremberg. If you are head of the state, you will face justice even you are a president. Because this kind of a crime, this capital crime, it's fit against the peace. And if you are head of the state, your responsibility to serve your country and your people, not kill them. So there is no immunity in international crimes at all. This kind of the legality. I said little bit, few minutes, before now, it's very important for both Iraqis and US. One, because what happened in 1991. If the international community took the responsibility and to protect the Shia and South, we don't have 300,000 individuals died. Same, if they did same thing what they did in North, because they protect North area. Second, which is very, very, very important, when decide to rebuild the society in Iraq, who helped us? This is the biggest question. As I told you, I'm involved in negotiation with UN. I tried to bring UN to Iraq, at least to be observer, to help, to anything. They refused 100%. They stay out of mission. The reason they said because you have death penalty in your law and the policy of the UN against the death penalty. I told them, I respect this policy, but I don't disagree. Okay, don't involve for helping issues. Come as observers. I think that did not violate your rule. Plus, that will help your role to at least let the court independent and follow the rule of law. But they decided to be out of mission. We had faith as an Iraqi to really build the rule of law and the justice in Iraq. So we did not have another support except to support. The major supports came from you guys. When I said from you, from your money, from your tax. The US government set up the liaison office called the Regime Crime Liaison Office through the MOJ, and this office helped us a lot. I told you, we had 21 tons of documents. How to deal with that? They help us to set up the security facility for the documents. We had 250 location of massacres, and we need international community and experts to help us work on this. Who did? The US and UK cooperate with us. We need training. Who did that training? The US and UK. Sharp and his colleagues and UK. We need courtroom. This is the courtroom. Who built this? With us. You built this with us. Your money built this with us. Set up all this courtroom. We need advice for the international standards. Iraq is a closed country from 1918 till 2003. We are unable to travel outside Iraq from 1918 till 2003 for many reasons. One, economic, because if we have to travel, we have to pay a lot of fees. Maybe 2 years, 3 years salary for one trip. 3 years salary, just fee, no ticket. Just fee to get your passport and go to the Jordan, because you don't have ability to get another visa from Iraq. We don't have embassies there. Most of the embassies out of Iraq, so you have to travel to Jordan. After, when you pay around the 3 years salary, then you have to wait in Jordan to get visa, go to Europe, which is almost impossible. So Iraq is a closed country until 2003. We don't have internet, we don't have cell phone, we don't have, even we don't have electricity. Then we need help for some international experts who help us. US and UK help us. The major help came from US. More than 100 million budget for this mission from US. Same from Iraq. Less from Iraq, less from UK, to be fair. So the major part came from you guys. Why this important for the Iraqis people? It's important because it's restore justice there, rebuild justice there, rebuild the democracy process there. Today is the second result of the second election in Iraq. Today they will not announce this. Today, this moment. Maybe they will announce now. Greg and I were listening this morning. It's in the BBC. They said not yet, but they will announce soon. Just think about this, guys. It's a great moment. You started, you built it. From 1958, when the Republic of Iraq, not the Iraqi country or the Iraqi state started, no, Republic of Iraq started. We don't have election. Anybody come to the office, stuck there. Stuck there unless the second one come and kill him and send him to, then he take the position. 1958, Abdul Karim Qasim in position. 1963, the Ba'ath people killed him. 1968, the Ba'ath people killed their colleagues and they took position. From 1968 until 2003, Saddam in position. No one moved him. No election there. Even there is some elections, but the result is 100% vote for the guy. But 2005, we have the first election, which is the biggest health step. This is the result of the democracy. This 2010, we have the second election. This is the second health step. Just think about that. We live in historic moments. We lived before 2003. Some of you maybe lived before 1991 till now. This is great. We can see the change step by step. Who the changes happen? Because two things. Because you and us, we have both faith in democracy. You don't need to came overseas and spend money and blood and dear people just to give a freedom for others. But because there is responsibility or faith here in the United States, they said we have to help others to re-establish their society. So we live in this moment. This court, the Iraqi High Tribunal, it's held also to do the same mission. Why? Iraq, look at this. 180,000 killed from Kurds. 300,000 killed from Shia. Just think about this. The regime is gone, new life is started. No rule of law, no court, no prosecution. And you and me, every day when you go out from your home to your work, you can see the guy who killed your son, or your daughter, or your brother. Are you going to wait for him? No way. No way. This is your opportunity to kill him. If you start to kill each other, we will establish the chaos again. We will live in chaos. But this court stop the chaos because the prosecution. And the society believe, okay, that's it. This is the rule of law. There's prosecution. That's it. That's what we need. And the rule of law, as I say, this is my word. The rule of law is the teeth of the democracy. The teeth of the democracy. Democracy without rule of law is chaos. Because there may be, but if there is law and rule of law here, it's regulate this process. So this regulation, it's very important for the Iraqi future and the Iraqi children and US children. And we thought this is part of our responsibility when we did our mission. It's not a matter of dangerous or something like that, no. It's part of duty and responsibility in the investigation or trial. You know, it's from inside the trial. And as you see, maybe here, this is the defense counsel for Saddam. This is Saddam. This is the defense counsel. He has a lot of defense counsel. Some of them speak English also. Here the prosecutor and the defense counsel for victims. This is the detainees. Here the clerk. And these the judges. This is the first judge on trial. His name is Rizgar. And this is the guy who's replacing him later. Rauf Abdulrahman. Here's our guest audience. So the court is open, nothing secret. Not just that, it's televised. Why is televised? People think maybe that's not good. I said no. Let's put everything in media. Bad, good, put it in media. Let our people see it. That's what's going on here. Let they change their mind about the rule of law, because they're the future. They will understand why Saddam did that. Later I went to the media and said, this is the right of the accused, has to do this and this and this. Why the prosecutor did that? This is the right of the victim, prosecutor to do this and this and this. So it's part of education also. And I think from Nuremberg through Yugoslavia, Rwanda, Iraqi High Tribunal, from US to Iraq, it's a great opportunity to rebuild the international society and international justice. Because this is maybe history of the crimes and history of justice at the same time, when we reach the international justice. And I hope we can work together to reach the international justice, because it's important, not just in US or UK or Germany or France or Iraq. It's important for Africa, it's important for Asia, it's important for everywhere. So this is the lesson of the IHT. And the IHT is different between 1958 and 2003. Because if you go over 2003, we have investigation process, trial process, appeal process, which took at least, in one case, took 3 years, 2 years, almost 2 years and a half. So, and Saddam has opportunity to defend himself 39 times, just in a trial, and a lot of times during the investigation, and same for others. And thank you very much. And I hope if you have any question, I would be more than happy to respond to this question.
Judge, one of the defense counsel was a known individual, former Attorney General in the United States, Ramsey Clark.
Yes.
Did he interact at all with you, or what was the sense of your, well, his involvement? We'll just leave it at that.
Ramsey Clark, he's, in the beginning he came. We appreciate his volunteering work, because really we hire some international lawyers to help defense counsels, because we like to reach the international standard in this. But at the same time, we ask him one question: are you lawyer or advisor? Because as you understand, there is different mission for both. He said, no, I'm a lawyer. I said, look, you are not allowed to represent your defendant or your client as a lawyer, because you have to have permission from, MOJ, Iraqi. This is the rule of Iraq. Same thing here. If the lawyer from New York want to go to Texas to represent his client, he has to get permission or get local, counsel there. This is the rule. He tried to argue with the house. And I remember we told him the story. I said, can you go to, one state and represent your client there? He said, no. I said, that's it. That's it. The law is the law. But we wish you stay as an advisor for the Iraqi council, because that will help you and help them. If you quit, we are able to hire some international advisors to work with them. And we did, because some of the international lawyers just came for politics reason or something. Then when they figure out there is not enough money there, they quit. And we hired international advisors, so they help them. We hired two, one from Canada and one from other place, to help the defense council independently out of our mission. Just work with them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about justice for the average Iraqi? I mean, not with international questions. Some guy robs his house.
Yeah.
Is there a court system for the average Iraqi?
Yes, definitely. I don't like to. I don't know how to get my PowerPoint here to show you some. Okay, I know I got it now. I will move step by step. Yes. See this. We are different than United States. We have civil law system. So we have two kinds of courts. Civil courts, criminal courts. Civil court, we have Supreme Court and we have, first instance courts. The highest court is Court of Cassation. There is 30 justices there, and the Chief Justice, 30. If you have, let's go on this. If you have tort case, you have to go here in the beginning. Then if you are not satisfied with the verdict, you can appeal here, the Supreme Court. First instance court, one judge court. We don't have jury. All the control by judges. There is no jury at all. No, grand jury, no trial jury. That's it. Supreme Court, 3 judges panel. The decision by majority. Court of Cassation, this is the General Committee, 30, and the Chief Justice, and 5 deputies. There is some committees inside it, and each committee is involved in the for a criminal area. And this court, independent, not different judges. This is the second area, criminal area. We have investigation court, and we have a trial court. In trial court, we have misdemeanor and felony court. The investigation court, the investigative judge involved with all the process pre-trial. All the process, from E to Z. Then he will make decision. Is there enough evidence to refer the case to trial or not? 90% of the cases done here. The investigative judge finds it's not a criminal case, it's civil case, so transfer the case here. The investigative judge finds there is not enough evidence against the accused, release him. The investigative judge finds the accused not responsible, release him. It's legal process. Then, if the crime itself punished by 24 hours in prison till 5 years, the investigative judge has to refer the accused to misdemeanor court. Misdemeanor court, it's one judge trial on punishment. No jury. Just one judge. Or if the investigative judge finds the crime punished by law, it's more than 5 years in jail, has to refer the case to the felony court. Felony court, 3 judges, and decision by majority. Then, if anyone doesn't satisfied with the decision, they have to go to the Court of Cassation. Here is different, something different, very important. In criminal cases, most of the cases, around 60 to 70% of the cases, go to the General Committee of the Court of Cassation, which is reviewed by 30 justices, because it's very important. If the criminal case not capital, then not capital punishment, no, it's go to the subcommittee. Also, it's around 90 justices to review the decision of the felony or misdemeanor, even sometime for the investigation judge. So, this is the regular system.
Now, is this the system during Saddam Hussein, or is this something brand new?
No, this is the system. This is a good question. Let me respond in 2 points. This is the regular system during Saddam Hussein. And you will see, you will think, so, okay, that's perfect. You know? Here there is line. This is the regular system in Iraq. If you go through it, if you have any contract or any, this is criminal case, it's no problem. This is the regular system. But the line is here. If you have any case connected with the politician or politics influence, and the U.S. involved there, they involve working with politician leaders in Iraq, and they don't have enough personnel working with the local community. So they miss this point, and they miss the local community. In 1 minute can control the country. No one can control you if you want to go outside with your community and raise against the government. And this is the problem. Iraqi is a tribal community, and the tribe is so strong to control the society. The tribe, can make a chaos and can make stability. After 35 years, the community was looking for good education, good economy, good business, good relationship, not soldier relationship, no, friend relationship, support relationship. So U.S. don't have personnel work in this. They work in the set of government, parliament, judicial system, but they miss the opportunity to work for the local community. They give this opportunity to their enemies. When they involve in this, they give the opportunity to U.S. enemies in the area. Let's back a little bit to the history, because this connects with the history. President Bush, during his time, he mentioned Korea, North Korea, Iran, and Iraq, at the same level. And when they came to Iraq, definitely Iran think the next step. Okay, I mentioned this table and that table of this table in this term, in same term. Then I came over the table in the middle. What do you think? I will move. I will move. So the guy in this table, he worked hard to destroy me in this table. Don't give me opportunity to set up a new democracy in another table. How to do this? Okay, I will get the point. U.S. involved in the high level responsibility. Parliament, rule of law, new constitution, and they don't have enough personnel working with the local community. Let's move in this point. And they move in this point. They sneak in this point. As a person in the society, what do you want? You need nice life, good business, work. And the other tables came, sorry for this example, came to give you opportunity to work for them. Money, small business, blah, blah, Why I have to work with U.S.? U.S. work with the Parliament people, and the government, and I did not get any result from them. These people gave me money and set up business for me, support my family, build health clinic in my neighborhood. So I need these people. Later, these people, when they capture you and they think you cannot go out of control, say, okay, you like to work with us? Let's set up militia. Because these bad people, you don't need these people here in Iraq, and we don't need them also. The story started this way. It's very simple, but it started this way. So how the Iraqis think? Most of the Iraqis believe they need U.S. support until this minute and next 5 years. Because they believe the future is with U.S. If you want, the Iraqis think if they want the Iraq, it's good country, respectable country, international community, they have to work with the U.S., UK, international community. And if they want Iraq, it's less respectable country, has to work with the other bad neighbors. So no one need to be a bad person, and everybody is looked to be Iraq as in Iraq before 1970 and 1970s Iraq is wonderful. So everybody is looking this time and look to us to cooperate with US, and without US we cannot do it because it will help us to move forward to international community like Japan, German, and the other examples. But how to do that? Frankly, we are not in position to suggest something, but maybe we can suggest one day. Until this minute also, there is conflict inside the Iraqi minds. They understand Iran, our neighbor forever. Iran and Syria, our neighbor forever, but it's bad neighbor. But we have to deal with this bad neighbor. We don't have home to sell it and go to another neighborhood. We have a country, and we cannot cut the country and go to the different island and put it there. The country is stuck there. Our deputy prime minister, a few years ago, he said, "I hope Iraq is island. We don't have neighbors. We don't need our neighbors because all our problems came from our neighbors." But as Iraq has 6 neighbors, and we have to deal with them. Sooner or later we have to deal with them. That's it. So we still appreciate the help from US. Still, we need their help as a society, but also we have to deal with our neighbors, and we set up relationship with them because we live there. Yes, sir.
Kind of going along with what you spoke about with your neighbors, and you said that you would really need us for maybe another 5 years for support. Is most of that because of the influence of your neighbors around you, or would it be other factions within your country? What would the main reason be, probably?
Our neighbors, Iraq is a problem. We know how to deal with them, correctly. We neighbors for thousands of years, not now. And we know how to deal with these neighbors. Good and bad, we understand that. We need the international community support to move forward in other facilities. We need them support for the economy, education, politics, and technology. We need their support, their advice for communication with other society. The neighbors, no. Security, no. You did enough for that. But we need your advice, and we need regular relationship as a friends. As Alan's there, this is US and Iraq, both countries. This is what we are looking for. Any other questions? Yes, please.
We saw about a year ago in the Green election in Iran a clash between the leadership and what seemed to the states as a revolution, almost.
Yeah.
how was that election perceived in Iraq? Was Iraq excited about this, as the United States was, or did Iraq say, well, this is just another phase? How did that play out?
I will talk frankly at this point, because sometimes I have to pick my words to don't affect some people. But in this point, I have to take, frankly, at least to let my friends here get the point about Iran. I don't know if you know, there is something in Iran or someone in Iran called the supreme leader, which is Ali Khamenei. This is leader, no one can touch it. No. This leader, no one can touch it. This is the king. Other positions, soldiers. You understand me? Mm-hmm. Here's the king. Anyone here is soldier. It's not a big deal if you have this or that. We understand the king is the king. There is no difference between Najad or Musawi. It's two faces in one coin. People excited here say, oh, it's not matter of revolution. It's matter of competition. It's not matter of change the policy of Iran. Because these soldiers cannot change the policy. The king is responsible for the policy. And they follow the principles of the king. The king or the supreme leader has a revolution guard. This revolution guard follow his order. If the revolution guard say, go and arrest the president, they will go now. And the president will come like this. He cannot pass any order for the military because his power came from the supreme leader. So whatever the second stage is not big thing. You understand? I do. So Musawi, Najat, maybe each one has different knowledge, like, sorry for the example, but just to make the picture clear. Democrats, Republic. In Iraq, Islamic coalition or Shia coalition, Alawi coalition. It's different view. But in Iran it's different, totally different. There is some principles, no one can touch it. This is the policy of the state. Details, economy, relationship, education, it's a matter of you kind of play in this. But the policy, nuclear weapon, this is not your decision, baby. This is the supreme leader decision. You exercise the idea of the supreme leader to the media, because the supreme leader usually don't talk a lot. Talk a little bit, viewpoints, and everybody will follow these points. So you have to put your eyes up, don't put it down, to understand the picture accurately. No questions? Thank you very much.